Oh, hello. Welcome to Demo in Diaspora. My name is Ademola Adisa. I'm your host, as usual. I welcome you to the new year, 2026. I wish you the best in this year, and I hope the year bring good tidings, peace, harmony for our land and for the world. Thank you so much for your support over last year. We wish you to please continue to support us. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment on Demo in Diaspora. Your host, as usual, Ademola Adisa. Welcome again. Now, this year we start with a very cogent and important issue: the invasion and the abduction of a Venezuela president by Donald Trump. On the 3rd of January 2026, Donald Trump invaded Venezuela and abducted the president, Maduro, and the wife, Flores. They are both now being charged for various reasons, especially on narco-terrorism and other issues. We will go deep into this. The invasion and eventual abduction of a president, a sitting president, is very much unprecedented. It laid a very much precedent that is very dangerous for world security, independence, and sovereignty of nations, and the principle of international relations. We will go deep into this. What are the justifications of Donald Trump and America in invading and abducting a sitting president of Venezuela? And is this justifiable under international law? And what are the motives behind it for American domestic politics, as well as implication in Venezuela? We also look at the general implication of this to smaller nations, especially in Africa, and the process or how they should address Donald Trump's request. This is a very uncharted line, and together we will give full analysis of this, and you, our audience, you'll be in the best position to make your own decision. In Demo in Diaspora, we give you a critical analysis, thorough, and very valuable data and information that will enable you to understand events around the world, and also as it affects Africa and Nigeria. Thank you so much. Now let's go deep into it. On 3rd of January 2026, U.S. positioned assets on all over the world and target finance. That is the build-up towards the invasion. During the invasion, it has a lot of positioning of its U.S. assets all over the world. And on the midnight of 3rd of January, there was airstrike and all other SDF operations, and the strike on Caracas. And eventually, on that night, by 4 a.m., Maduro and his wife Flores were captured. And Donald Trump eventually make a national address These are the strikes, places that were, the positions that were struck by U.S. forces. More than 150 aircrafts from more than 20 U.S. military bases all over the world combined and targeted all these locations, eventually eliminating, dismantling all the forces of resistance. At one point, 50 guides from Cuba, more than 80 guides from Cuba that were supposed to be guiding the president and protecting him were eliminated. A lot of these are going to be done in full detail. By the end of the operation, the United States, the President, Donald Trump, actually announced the capture and eventual arrest and abduction of Maduro, Nicolas Maduro, and the wife, Flores, to America. He announced that his ride was successful, and Maduro and Celia Flores were captured and brought in captivity in handcuffs to America. And they are now being tried under narco-terrorism that they are financing using the office of the presidency and his office to finance and and perpetrate drug-related activities against America, importing drugs into America, and this is the justification for the arrest. Furthermore, it was also reflected and shown in handcuffs under the DEA, that is Drug Enforcement Agencies, surrounded and was paraded discreetly to the world. There were agitations and protests in America against the arrest, and they are against unilateral and unsanctioned and undemocratic actions of the president, taking laws into his hand without due process. All these are, while these all are going on, the whole world is asking what exactly is the position and the objective of America. Is it just because of the drug, or are there other motives that America have in mind in invading and abducting the Venezuela president? Why this invasion and abduction were highly supported by the Republicans, there were opposition from the Democrats. The Republicans see this as a power force. They praised Donald Trump's decisive leadership in acting with authority in the interests of America. This they tag as a decisive leadership that has been eluding America for the last 4 years, for the past more than 4 years. So in essence, they also bet the Democrats condemned the action and see it as another effort at getting Nigeria into another Iraq war. This they see as a power grab and using of a power that is not arrogated to the office of the president. They accused Donald Trump of bypassing Congress and getting authorization before invading any foreign country, thereby committing America into a war that was not sanctioned by the Congress. In Venezuela, the opposition were very happy and welcomed the removal of Maduro as somebody that been regarded as dictator and also being get in office by fraud and electoral manipulations. However, the Maduro supporters and also were angry and condemned the attack, denouncing it as a violation of Venezuela's sovereignty and totally against international law, norms, and practices. This was totally condemned. But in a twist of action, Donald Trump really revealed the true reason for invasion of Venezuela, beyond the issue about drug trafficking. In his statement, he categorically said, America will run Venezuela temporarily. Said it will run the country until such time as America can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. He described this as a temporary administration with U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, working with Venezuelans to govern the country. So, America is actually taking over a country and ruling it. This is a very much contrary. This implication means that U.S. will be a de facto U.S.-led transition authority if framed as cooperative. That is imposing, overriding the national interests of Venezuela, going to the country and impose its regime. It's just like the olden days of kingdoms and empires. So Donald Trump is becoming more like an emperor or a king who can invade any country and take over the rulership at will. He also sees the administration of the country which selected Venezuela partners. He said U.S. officials are expected to work with Venezuelans to administer the country, not rule it alone. This suggests a hybrid governance model. U.S. oversight and local actors, likely opposition figure, technocrat, and some institutional holdovers. This is more like a coup. It means America and Donald Trump's plan coup and remove the government and impose themselves as the coup leader and using the technocrats and civilians as tools, as institutional holdovers. So this is unprecedented. And furthermore, he also said America will rebuild and tap Venezuela oil sector. So the most important objective is to tap on Venezuela oil. Trump said U.S. will restore Venezuela's oil infrastructure and tap its oil reserves. He explicitly linked this to repaying U.S. companies whose assets were expropriated in the Chavez and the Maduro era. When Chavez was president, he nationalized the oil companies, and this put America oil companies under have to be taken over. They take over from American companies that used to have all these companies. And Donald Trump is now saying he's getting all those assets back for those countries, even when they have already been dilapidated, unworkable because of the sanctions and all other impositions that America imposed on Venezuela. Said they will be resuming large-scale oil exports and presumably aligned with U.S. and allied energy interests. So it's the U.S. energy interest that is at stake, is going all over to harness Venezuela's oil installations for the interests of America. So this implication means energy politics is central. This is not just about democracy, it's about restructuring control over oil. So it's an oil issue. However, he also have it in motion to move Venezuela towards a democracy. U.S. officials and analysts framed the operation as part of a broader push to move the country towards democracy. The think tanks like the Atlantic Council and CFR talk about organizing an election, rebuilding institutions, and stabilizing the economy. Trump already said also in his statement that he will ensure that they put civilians or governments that will be in line with America's interests. So, which means, simply put, they will organize an election and put a puppet that will be representing the interests of America, as they did in Iraq and other areas of invasion. The question of this is the political narrative is democratic transition, even if the method aimed to removal and occupation of administration is heavily contested. America doesn't care. Either it's legitimate or it's acceptable to others as long as it's for the interests of America. Inasmuch as America have decided to invade and arrest, it's a very great risk, a political risk for Donald Trump. Part of the allegations some people are making is that because of the dwindling popularity of Donald Trump in domestic affairs, so he's go ablazing all over the world to get international popularity. That is why he's going into military adventures in the name of America so as to boost its domestic image. Is this a justifiable risk, especially in the coming election, midterm election? Let's see what are the risks. Part of the challenges that Donald Trump is likely to be having and being on that risk is Is war power, what about is, do they have the war power and legality to unilaterally invade a foreign country without the support of the government, of the opposition as well as the Congress? So the oppositions are likely to challenge his power and eroding the power of the Congress over whether the president have authority to launch the airstrike, under what legal justification does he have to do this in the name of America? There is likely also to be polarization of the Congress on party affinity, where intensified partisanship is split over foreign policy and executive power. Does power of the president cover this invasion? This is a serious risk that needs to be explored. Under what international law does it justify the invasion? There can be a backlash on this. There is already global criticisms within the domestic debate about U.S. legitimacy. There are a lot of international law experts that are querying the legality of the abduction of a sitting president and also of invasion of another country without any justifiable reason other than the issues that cannot be related to international law and diplomacy. The media and public opinions of this are very volatile, and it can influence a lot of the implication of this attack. There can be a rapid swing in narrative, especially when casualties are counted, if there's any casualties. Fortunately, in the invasion, there was no casualty. So this narrative can be in favor of the president. But the chaos, the subsequent chaos or success of stability in Venezuela and in addressing the drug issues in America, we also go a long way to swing people's opinion and justification. What is the implication on this security of America? There can be retaliations, concerns with the invasion complicated American security. Can it also escalate terrorism against America at home and abroad? So fear of asymmetric response from allied states or terror networks. These are also a very medium to high stake in the response to the invasion. There is also long-term precedent. Is America now laying a precedent for the rest of the world to normalize the use of unilateral strikes and removal of leaders by stronger nations against weaker or smaller countries? where is it going to lead us? Are we going to have a similar situation happening between China and Taiwan? Can China just go into Taiwan and remove the leaders of Taiwan under the implication that they are a threat to the country? Also, looking at this disc, on the legality and war power, the question is, did the president overreach his power? All this can fuel a congressional hearing and political advertisements, and also can turn out to be a source of concern for others. Operational outcomes. Does Venezuela look under control or on fire? From the look of things, the vacuum that was created is now very difficult to know how that vacuum can be filled. The removal of the president without any justifiable or any organized replacement for good transition can also emphasize if Venezuela go further into chaos or into normalization. Also, we look at the casualties and humanitarian fallout, as I said, or American civilians dying in visible ways. This is not so far, so good. And this can be a good way, but in the future, if there is attack on American interests or assets and the created casualties or on Americans, this can swing narrations or influence against the invasion. What is the economic spillover? Any hint to fuel prices, market, or regional stability? Obviously, this can create eventual fuel prices hike, but it can be minimal because Venezuela is not actually producing or supplying much to the market. Even though Venezuela is the highest, it has the highest reserve of crude oil in the world, above America and Saudi Arabia, but because of all the sanctions, it's only producing less than 1 million barrels a day. So but if Venezuela is unable to supply any further, this can affect the regional stability, also because of the economic implication. If the prices also go high, then it can affect the domestic, American domestic pricing. There is already great question about the cost of living in America, where prices are unbearable because of Donald Trump's policies. And going into this and creating, if there is an increase in oil prices, this can aggravate the whole situation. The media also framing of the invasion and abduction of Venezuela president can also influence the swing of reactions for or against the invasion. If there is dominant story strong that America is strong or is reckless, is it strong or recklessness? The shaping of these narratives will go a long way to address or the implications and the future implications of this invasion. And also base mobilization, especially between the Republicans and the Democrats. How are they able to energize their bases on one side more than the other? Are Republicans able to energize their base in support of Donald Trump, or the Democrats able to energize their base against the invasion or the abuse of power and the grasping of power from Congress, and building a narrative of a president that becoming more of an emperor or a king than an elective president. This will also let us know what is it that, but on international stage, we need to understand what is the legality of the invasion. What legal justification in international law does American or Donald Trump have? Legal experts widely argue the operation violates core principles of international law. Violation of the UN Charter, which says the use of force is only lawful in self-defense or if authorized by United Nations Security Council. Neither condition was applied or used by Donald Trump or America in the invasion and abduction of Venezuela President. Unlawful removal of a sitting head of state, capturing a foreign leader on foreign soil, is considered as a breach of sovereignty. Criminal indictment do not justify military action. Under international law, international law does not allow states to use forces to enforce domestic criminal charges abroad. This issue of narcotic terrorism is a domestic criminal charge which have no jurisdiction beyond U.S. border. Using this is against international law. UN has also condemned the invasion. The UN Secretary General described the action as destabilizing and precedent setting, that is setting a wrong precedent to the rest of the world. If this be the case, what exactly can anybody do to checkmate the unilateralism of America as American force going beyond justification? What is the legality? What can the world do to put this in check? Now, the question is, has there been precedent, and what is the implication of and justification of this abduction and invasion of Venezuela? What is the political implication to the rest of the world? What message is this sending to the international community? In our situation, for global fallout, the operation have triggered several geopolitical shockwaves. It begs the question, erosion of sovereignty norms. Many governments now view the operation as a direct challenge to the principle that states cannot remove foreign leaders by force. Precedent for unilateral regime change. Analysis 1, this could normalize military interventions justified by domestic criminal charges. That people can just give a justification that of criminal charges within their territory and go ahead and remove a government in another country just because they are categorized as having criminal tendencies against their country, either with or without any verifiable evidence. It's also heightened great power rivalry. So will this go unchallenged by Russia, China, and several non-aligned states who are already condemned the action, framing it as destabilizing and unlawful? So, what are these countries going to do in retaliations or to remedy the abnormalities? Can there be diplomatic fracture in Latin America? Some governments fear the precedent that since America starts with Venezuela, is already thinking about other Latin America countries. So the others are quietly supporting the removal of Maduro just to be on the safe side and be on the allied side with America. But will this make them safer? And the region, the Latin America, is becoming more polarized. Now, what is exactly is going on? Has this been done before? And who and why and how? Yes. Legal precedent matters existing what exists and what does not. Use of force without United Nations Security Council approval have been used before. Even though unlawful, yes, it's unlawful, but it's being repeated. And on each of the cases is always by America. In Iraq 2003, Saddam Hussein was removed and the country was occupied. The same thing is Kosovo, 1999. This was also contested while the country was invaded by United States and its allied and against Kosovo and remove the Kosovo president, which led to the splitting of the country. Regime change by external forces, yes. America in 1989 also invaded and removed the Panama president then, Noriega, and replaced that de facto leader of Panama at the time. The same thing was done in 2003, as we said earlier on, in Iraq, as also Libya. America, in collaboration with also allied forces of Western Europe, removed Gaddafi from Libya in 2011. Extraditing or trying foreign leaders in own court. This is rare, but it exists. America also charges and prosecuted Noriega, the Panama leader, head of state then, and some ex-leaders were also tried abroad, while Saddam Hussein was tried in Iraq and also executed. Gaddafi died in the course of the invasion. Forcibly seizing a sitting head of state on their own soil and flying them to attackers' court, almost no precedent. Other than the Noriega that is the closest of all, but even at that time, Noriega was not being regarded as the president or the head of state. He has been removed legally before the invasion, but his status was more contested at that time as a head of state. Any clear legal doctrine allowing this under international law? Absolutely none. There is no international law that allow any of this to take place. Why is the Venezuela Maduro's abduction quite different from Noriega's Panama's 1989? The target, Manuel Noriega, was de facto ruler of Panama, whereas Nicolas Maduro is a sitting president of Venezuela. It's not de facto, it's the current president, elected president, even if this contestable, but he's still the sitting president of Venezuela. What triggered this is similar. U.S. indicted Noriega for drug trafficking and break it down in relationship with America. The same thing is being used to indict Nicolas Maduro, for long-standing hostility and unilateral to also strike. That's why they make the unilateral to strike against him and put him under the drug charges. What are the methods? In Panama, U.S. visions was rapid regime removal. Operation was just cause, whereas the Venezuela removal is a large-scale strike and structure, and also the seizure of a head of state. This is unprecedented. Outcome for the latter, while Noriega captured, flown to U.S., tried and imprisoned, Maduro is also captured and flown to U.S. and is being undergoing a trial as a criminal defendant. But legal controversy. This is while Panama was widely criticized as violation of sovereignty, but framed as restoring democracy, the criticism against the removal of Maduro was even sharper. It's seen as armed aggressions or precedented seizure of a sitting president. And geopolitical content of this, while this was the removal of Panama President Noriega, was done during the late Cold War, the Cold War era, where regional U.S. domination was limited and great power was back. But presently, there are multiple players, there are multiple environments, strong Russia, China, Iran, and reactions against the invasion. In previous one with Panama, there was no such power that are counteracting the forces of America. But with polarization of power now, China, Russia, even Iran are contesting the legality of the invasion by America. Even though those precedents were not legally backing and were not something that should be done, but it seems they are being repeated by America as a justification for getting its ways wherever it's unable to make its way. As I said, as we look at Venezuela's invasion, the removal of Maduro to install a friendly regime is very, very illegal. Under the pretext that the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, was removed because and arrested because on drug charges for narcotic terrorism of importing drug into America. The invasion of the country by airstrike and restriction of operations was similar to the same thing that was done. There was air and drone strikes, more than 27 U.S. strikes, and more than 150 jets targeting multiple locations in Venezuela. Even though this is not a justifiable reason, Iraq was also attacked and the government was removed. You also look at there were also broad condemnation from the United States Nations Security Council, which summons emergency session in condemning, which generally condemn it. And also, those same pattern was done with Panama as well as Iraq. The action was condemned, and the resolutions that were passed that against attack was ignored by United States against Iraq. Also, Maduro was also captured and removed and taken to America, which create instability, uncertainty in Venezuela. Panama also undergo the same thing, and Iraq is still trying to recover years back of loss due to the invasion. All these are not palatable justifications. But what is the way forward? What can be done? How can this unilateral action of America be checkmated? What can the rest of the world do to enforce or encourage multilateral approach to issue in international diplomacy? Just as the Emergency Security Council, the United Nations have set the Emergency Security Council session, which condemned the invasion and also uh, castigate America as laying a precedent that is very, very much risky for the rest of the world. This, if United States and United Nations can try and enforce its ability and make, because it's becoming a toothless dog. America is just ignoring any activities or anything about United. You have no respect under Donald Trump. Have no respect for decisions of the United Nations, and is going solo either with or without collaboration or support from the United Nations. But the United Nations can refer this to International Court of Justice, just as that is the World Court, just as they do for the smaller nations, for arbitration, for the court to justify or go against the justification of the attack or invasion by America on Venezuela. Even though people are happy, the opposition are happy for the removal, but under international law, this is not a justifiable reason. The Organization of American States also have a responsibility to mediate, to intervene, because laying this precedent will go against sovereignty of each of the states in Latin America, and if they don't rally around their own, because this cannot go on in Europe, the European Union will stand firm and protect their own. So Organization of African States, American States also need to do something in support of Venezuela in protection its sovereignty and preventing the lay down of precedents. International Development Bank as well as World Bank can also support Venezuela in wading through this issue, this period of concern, by giving them financial support to run their country and be able to support them in all actions that America will have take against them. But will they do this? That is, all other international body, that UNASUR as well as CLAC, should also do something. The European Union can also use their weight and remove Venezuela from all sanctions, encourage trade, as well as Russia and China should encourage trade and avoid and neglect all economic sanctions that have been imposed on Venezuela, so that they can have gain their sovereignty and be able to stand in protection of their country. Multilateralism should be encouraged. The world should come together as one, and using one's power without consensus from the other nations is not be encouraged by any way form. So all countries need to do something to address the power grabbing and single-handed policing of the world by America. As I said, the Secretary General can also initiate mediation to resolve this amicably between America and Venezuela. And also, the uh, human rights monitoring can also wade in, and also to request for evidence of abuse, human rights abuse in Venezuela, and also to bring the Venezuela into account. The Security Council should demand and effect a procedure of escalating these unilateral actions so as not to be emulated by other countries. As I said, the Organization of American States should also leverage on Latin American countries in their forums to fight back and protect their members from the bully of America. Democratic reforms should be encouraged in Venezuela. Their economy needs to be revamped, and also their people, Venezuela should be given support in aids, especially food and medical support to relief, to bring sanity back into the country. America and Venezuela should be charged to the International Criminal Justice Court, ICC, International Court of Justice, as well as the International Criminal Court, for the legality and challenge the legality of this. What is this implication to African states? Donald Trump has seriously, emphatically emphasized power and might as the only weapon he's going to use diplomatically. Any contradictions or opposition to American policies are not being done through negotiation, but through the use of force. America is yet ready to use using its gun both diplomacy on any nation that is challenging its authority or are not cooperating towards its policy, either favorable to the country or not. This is a serious challenge which makes African countries highly vulnerable, irrespective of where, because smaller nations cannot challenge America because of their military might. And if America decide to go to any nation under any protest, especially in Africa, then there's nothing the country can do. This is a tendency that should not be encouraged. African leaders need to work together now to see how their interests can best be protected in joint associations or having joint military and actions together, working together, band themselves as one. Individually, they are no match to America. Even though if they join together, it's not that they can be as mighty as America, but at least they can be better cohesive, and also they can also speak in one voice in forging a policy that is best protected Africa and all the smaller nations. I hope the precedent will not go round. America is showing might, not on the biggest nation of its peers, but on smaller nations. America might, if America wants to show its might, let it go and challenge China or Russia. Why is Donald Trump having cold feet in attacking or invading Russia, especially in defense of Ukraine? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for your patience, for listening through, and we hope that you will share, comment, and subscribe to Demo in Diaspora. I promise to give you, and every time, a very much good analysis, detailed analysis of all issues. Thank you, and God bless you. And once more again, Happy New Year. I hope this new year will bring peace and harmony to the world. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless Nigeria. God bless the world. Bye.